So we know this group began in 1717. We know that all of these inventions, the car, the train, the plane, all of it, came within the last 200 years. We know that these great fires all over the world happened in the 1800s and took basically nobody's life. We know that the population spiked around the 1800s from basically nobody to billions of people in just the last 200 years, where we are starting to pin the start date of our current timeline down, because today we're taking this research a step further. Today, we are looking into the money. On April 2nd, 1792, the US Congress passed the Mint Act, which was the beginning of the dollar. It was also the first country in the world to adopt the decimal system for currency. And now when we go over to the UK and see that they also started to use the British pound in 1707, making it the official currency of the UK, when England and Scotland united to form a single country. Even China making a brand new currency in 1948. This new currency was introduced in 1948, taking over the previous currency, which was introduced in 1889. All of these currencies, all starting within the last 300 years, worldwide, where we can go to Russia and see that their currency also begins in 1704. So apparently, in the 1600s, nobody had any money, and yet we are told that they were knocking out palaces all over the world. I think we're seeing that our timeline really began right around 1700. I think this is when all of the structural things, like governments, banks, the foundation of our civilization, I think this is when it all began. And this is all based on what we're being told, the dates that they provide us, the information that we are given using their data. So we have the top 10 banks in the world based on market cap, with JP Morgan at number 1, with a start date of 1871. Bank of America, starting in 1922. Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, started in 1984. Now we have shown that so much has started within the last 300 years. Everything that we have today that is a part of our civilization has been introduced within the last 300 years. And at the exact same time, right when we get the USA, right when we get these banks, these currencies, right when all this happens, this is the exact point in time that our civilization sees a massive spike in population. At no other point in time have humans repopulated at this rate of 66% increase every 69 years. Billions of people at a rapid pace. According to the mainstream narrative, we are told that we're at our peak right now. We are the most advanced civilization ever. We have the most technology. We have the most amount of people, when this is simply not true in my opinion. I believe that we have been given all of this technology back. I've said this before, but it is so true. I believe that our civilization is as advanced as we're allowed to be. We see these inventions just flying at us in the 1800s. Cars, phones, TVs, electricity, planes, you name it. When you're in charge of controlling an entire civilization, 300 years is nothing. To us, the 1800s were a long time ago, but in reality, this is nothing. We are being told that AI is a brand new thing, when it has, in my opinion, been here a very long time. And if we're being shown AI, could you imagine what else is not being shown to us? Thinking logically and using the information that we're provided, in my opinion, we are pinning this narrative down. We are finding our civilization's beginning point. And the more people that see this, the more people that understand this information, the more people that we have researching and looking for the truth, the probability of us finding the truth about our past becomes more and more eminent. All of this explains why we have buildings sitting in all of our cities and most of our towns that don't fit into our timeline. They don't look anything like the way we build today. And the only way to explain it logically is that an advanced civilization was here before us that fully understood how to create massive palaces. And it was a civilization that was worldwide. We see these cathedrals and basilicas in every single continent. It's not like it was just limited to a single location. This was a worldwide understanding, and something massive happened to them. And right around 1700, our civilization began occupying this land. with their work looking us straight in the face. Welcome to episode 65 of My Lunch Break. I hope you're all having a great day, and if you're new, welcome. And I want to thank all of our sponsors over on Patreon. Thank you to FlatEarthDave.com. You can check out his app. I'll put the link in the description, and you can use my referral code, MLB. He also has My Lunch Break on the homeschool section of the app, which is really cool. Thank you to Rebecca K, Don Gaston, Christopher Arietta, The Lady Lacey Show, David and Sherry Ferguson, Edwin Johnson, Chuck Templeton, Joy Lee, PNR, Stephanie Nolan, The Burlesons, Suez KC, Dan Woodall, Dale, DJ Clicktrack, Edward and Brianna, Jacob Law, Jim Ribley and Christine Duggan, Kyle Glascock, Tim Rack, William Richard Jeffries V, PKTFnews.org, Regna Saturna, 3D6.space, Attila Power, Buck Suey, Dakota Dunn, Eric Martinez, Ivan Apoctoli, Jesse DeLeon, Jim Bro, Kit Kat, Todd K, Edwin Rice, Helmut, Charles Kruger, Daniel Zid, Glenn Gunderson, Pacific Crafted, Z-Dub Customs, HaggardT-shirts.com, Meta, Jason Hochberg, Blake, Jessica, Alex and Cypress, Carla Fitzgerald, Natalie Shippenoff, Marie C, Roy Schoenholtz, Wayne T, Sirius Feline, Ryan and Laney Benner, Isaac Wright, Melissa Edgar, James Alt, Dan McGee, Vince Moreno, Samir Schwery, Stony Stargod, Roz Matthews, Shiba Shaba in the Darkness, Dendries NL, Joanna Mesher, G Pow, TheGoldenTeacher.co, My Hubby is Awesome, Rick Tapke, The Arnolds, and VKH Bonner. You guys are all awesome and helping this channel out a lot. In episode 64, we were looking into Budapest, and we found this character that was building palaces at 23 years old, winning contests for massive parliament buildings, where Budapest had so many master palace architects that they didn't even need to use the winner's design. Mr. Hausman was pinned to a lot of buildings, like we have shown, but we need to officially close the book on this guy. We have covered the New York Palace in Budapest, which is now a 185-room palace hotel and cafe. They tell us that this building opened up in 1894 as the headquarters for the New York Life Insurance Company, where life insurance is yet another thing that starts right up in 1706. The first company to ever offer life insurance was founded in London, 1706, 1 year before the British pound became the official currency of the UK. At this point, it is becoming incredibly evident that something massive happened at this point in time. It's just one thing after the next. And if all of this wasn't true, then the mainstream narrative would have given us something major that was created in the 1500s by now. A single company from the 1400s. You would think that there would be some sort of progression over time, that something would still be here from the 1500s. It's not mathematically probable that every single invention, all the money, billions of people, all of it, comes in a matter of 300 years. And before this, basically nobody rode around on donkeys and lived by candlelight, riding with duck feathers, yet knocked out massive castles and basilicas. It doesn't add up at all. Everything was given back to us, starting around this date of 1700, where in my opinion, they were laying the groundwork, the foundation of our new civilization, and our new civilization was being formed. And then after it was all situated and they had control over all the major things that a controller would want to be in control of, governments and laws, financial institutions, insurance companies, taxes, and the rest. After this was done, the okay was given to start repopulating this place again. And 300 years later, here we all are. Now, before we take this research to the next level, let's take a minute and thank all of our badge members, all of our Patreons, and every single subscriber. You are all awesome in helping grow this channel to reach new people every single week. And this is becoming clearer and clearer by the episode. When we take a look at inflation, where it basically follows the exact same chart that the world population does when we have nothing going on before the 1700s, and then just takes off I think we have located the beginning point of our current civilization based on math and information that they have provided us, where there's nothing. And out of nowhere in 1700, everything is created and billions of people just come out of nowhere. Inventions all over the place, with wars to confuse people, demoralize the ones involved, and destroy massive cities that give it all away. Where, according to the data provided, people reproduce at basically 66% growth every 69 years. And this is documented. So what was going on in the 1200s? Well, according to the mainstream narrative, everybody stayed away from each other. Nobody wanted kids, apparently. For hundreds and thousands of years, the population was basically nobody. And then the 1700s hit, and all of a sudden, humans want to repopulate at a rate that's never been seen before. And it's not even close, where it goes from nobody to billions of people in just a few hundred years, when we know that this is the rate in which humans repopulate. And they know this as well. And when you wipe the population out, humans will repopulate at this rate yet again. And through the first 64 episodes, we have so many different things that show that this is the case, basically proving that there have been previous civilizations. And at this point, it wouldn't be shocking at all if it was over 100 billion people and they were extremely advanced, a community that can't see until the savior, Benjamin, comes around, where 63.7% of people need glasses today. And I'm just gonna take a guess and say that the 1200s people didn't have 20/20 vision either, meaning that they also needed glasses, but we are told they didn't have them. And they also didn't have a light bulb. So no lights, no glasses. Could you imagine this group of people in the 1200s, where we are told that they built Buddha Castle, stumbling around at night with no glasses and no lights, yet getting palaces done no problem at all, and not a single mistake anywhere. Over 100 feet in the air, perfectly put together by people that can't see. A community that supposedly didn't even create the pencil for another 500 years. But Buddha castles are no problem at all, where in the future, we can even show that the oldest prison in the USA was built in 1720, where you might say, yeah, that's because the USA was formed in 1776. And then we go over to England, and the first state prison in England was the Millbank Prison, established in 1816. And 8 years later, in 1824, 54 other prisons had formed and adopted this system. And we will have an episode fully dedicated to this in the very near future. I found some other things that I thought you all might enjoy. So let's start the bonus. The St. Paul St. Louis, which is a church located in Paris, France, with construction beginning in 1627. Beginning in 1627. 397 years ago, in a time period that we have shown, according to the mainstream narrative, had just a little over no people, yet able to knock out the Buddha Castle and massive palaces. It was the booming 1600s, before all currencies. They just decided they would just go trade a donkey or two for some limestone. They would give the architect a pineapple for his skills. And this was completed in 1641, perfectly. They give us this story that we have seen so often, where the first church on the exact same site was built around 1125, 899 years ago. And they give us a story of a chemist that gets guillotined just to make us think that they know all about the backstory of these buildings, where we have shown in episode 33, when you just email them about a building that was built in the 1900s, they have no clue who built it. These narratives are story hour, in my opinion. They hold zero truth. They are as trustworthy as a child's bedtime story, where we are told that there was a cemetery connected to this first church, the one that was built 900 years ago. And then this cemetery just disappeared, and the old church was demolished in 1799 because they just needed an upgrade in 1799. And here's another one of those situations where we have these reoccurring names with these stories, where we've seen all the Fredericks in episode 43. But here they give the reoccurring names in a different way. When they say Louis the Ninth and Louis the Eighth, where I understand that this is possible, but we've seen it so many times. The reoccurring names are, in my opinion, exposing that these stories were created by an AI generator. It throws the same name right into the story over and over. It's a pattern. And the AI works on patterns, where if a human wrote this story, they would just make up a new name. And I think this is why we see so many people named Henry the Ninth in these narratives from hundreds of years ago. I think it's a code. They could just say Henry the 30th, and nobody would ever question it. Just accepting this narrative for years, when I think it's clearly a key to look deeper into these stories, these buildings and castles surrounding these characters. So the city supposedly grew too big, and the chapel was replaced, where they know that Louis VIII laid the cornerstone. And when you know, you know. The building's original name holds Mason, Jesuits. The architect of the new church was the Jesuit priest. So now we are made to believe that the 1600s priests were also master architects. This was the first church in Paris to stop using the Gothic style and now use the Baroque style, when the famous Jesuit preacher preached some of his memorable sermons in the church. All documented, of course? No. So my question is, who is this Jesuit priest architect that just knocks out palaces in the 1600s that last forever? We are told that he was born in 1569 and had two brothers who both became Jesuits as well. Almost nothing is known about his early life. Nothing. It's a big mystery, just like the mainstream narrative likes it. But don't worry, they know all about every other detail of the rest of his life. Joining the Jesuit order in 1590, when he was 21, this group, the Jesuits, established themselves in France in the 1560s, but were banned in 1595 after attempting to kill Henry IX. But that's okay, because they let him back in 8 years later. So this master architect, he wasn't even the best one, where he would supposedly draw up all these kinds of buildings, no problem at all, and send them back to a superior general that would have to approve them. So we're supposed to believe a time period where we're told that the population was like 10 people. They also had all kinds of people just waiting around to draw up palaces. And some guy was sitting in his chair throwing master designs in the no pile. How ridiculous does this sound? Now, of course, when they pin a guy to one building, there are always so many more. Here's the first one, which is still in use today. Built this one, and then he also supposedly built the Blois Cathedral, a cathedral that also had multiple buildings. The first one started in the 1100s. However, nothing is left of the original structure. It's just gone. And the next one starts 450 years later. Of course it does. When this one is destroyed by a storm, they get back to work in the 1680s. And then the Americans' bombardment during World War II destroys most of the glasswork in the cathedral. When we know that this sounds like there was something on the glass that told a story, possibly things that would give something away about our past, things that we're not supposed to see. Thinking logically, why would the glass be broken and everything else is fine? It sounds to me like these people just went in there and broke the glass and replaced it with the new narrative. What better way to do this than to just chalk it up to a war?